Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Pronogo, and I'm bringing you some more daily Cosmonarchy casts. We are going to be looking at the Shambler against Hupsaiya, and this is an older set, from way before Acropolis #1 even hit its Battlement stage, let alone its Throne Room stage. And the reason we are looking at this is because I was told that they were simultaneously bangers and also potentially nuclear salt mines. So please prepare your keyboards because we will probably be typing, but maybe not until later on in the set. The way that this set is going to be cast, we will be seeing Impetus and probably Sideshow, the first two maps here of the set, but I think based on the file sizes alone, these two replays are going to require their own videos. So this might be a three-parter, but join us all the same for some mirror matchup action, PvP. And let's see who types first. It's Impetus, it's the Shambler in the top right as Terran, funnily enough, and Hupsaiya in the bottom left. So, I don't actually know if the Shambler is actually going to be Terran in all of these games. This isn't that far back that I think he was actually trying to play as all three races or whatever, or one thing in particular. I think he did say that there's a Zerg game in here too, though. So hold on, hold the phone. We might actually see a whole bunch of different matchups out of this. I thought for sure there would be, Shambler was just going to be playing as Protoss the whole time, but I seem to recall him saying that there was a Zerg game in this set too, or maybe I'm thinking of another set. I don't know. I woke up not that long ago. We are here to cast some Cosmo. Let's see what happens. Shambler going for the fast Fulcrum. By the way, this is so far in the past that like the meta for PvT has been completely changed because we've had so many Protosses and a couple of Terrans, and then there's a couple of people who are interested in occasionally playing Terran. That is, of course... Yeah, hit him up as being random. He's going to play as random in the next tournament, which is pretty psych. The late GLHF, of course, Hupsaiya, forced to type in reaction to that. That will instantiate a Lattice in response to the GLHF. So Lattice first, interesting. Maybe it's just going to be Sims. We like Sims over here. I think it'll be really cool when we reach that promised land where all of the Protoss units are a little bit further explored with like what kinds of things they excel at. I think there are some units that don't excel at anything or don't excel at much, and then there's other units that are probably slept on a little bit. And regardless of whether or not those units are slept on, regardless of which kind of unit we're talking about here, I still think there's a lot of units that will probably end up seeing some adjustments or changes. So we'll see how that one plays out. Scribe has been brought on down. It's vassals for Hupsaiya. It's pretty good. I mean, he scouts that there's a vulture. There's obviously the ability to build, a watchdog for Terran. They don't have to worry about this sort of thing too much. Some mines have been laid, but the vulture is not heading across the map, so no pressure actually provided just yet. You see how small the vision range of the vassal is. They don't end up being excellent scouts because of that one reason, but you can still send them across the map and sort of commit them into a bit of a harvest here. So, harvest disruption, information harvest. Many harvests can be done. I'm also really curious as to what Hupsaiya is going to move in ahead after this. Like, is he actually going to go Sims like I'm predicting, or is it just going to be like idols? I know that he went Lattice into... This was the era where you got to shout out Newt's Wraith play in this particular era, because that was something where Hupsaiya came up with the Lattice build specifically because like he didn't know how to scout his opponent as Protoss, and his opponent would sometimes be Newt and go like Mass Goliath or whatever, which it looks like maybe Shambler is going to be thinking about doing, but other times he would go this Wraith play and just be very, very finicky. Now the Vultures are going to miss the Vassals here, and I think they will probably end up... Well, they were testing the waters. They have revealed themselves. Of course, the Pylon has more vision range than the Vassal itself. So it looks like Shambler not actually going to pull the trigger on that. Okay, all right, interesting. Second Watchdog coming up. Still doesn't see any expansion. So, he gets some value out of that scout, but he doesn't go poke his head up there to where it don't belong. And the Goliaths are on the field, stomping around. If the Vassals hit like 5 seconds earlier, then they might have interrupted that Watchdog being made. And who knows what they would have been able to make happen, Even as it currently stands, they can kind of pick off this guy building the treasury, which Hupsaiya is aware. But he does end up losing a decent amount of vitality on his on his vassals. You know what this was reminding me of is like way back in 2023. I want to say early 2023. We're talking like at least like about a year ago, right? These vultures are 1 HP each, so they shouldn't really be able to do too much damage. Vassals have dive bombed and not really got too much done, but yeah, the vultures are gone. Now, okay, this is a little bit different. We've got a Goliath just walking up on. The lattices were idle. What's going to happen here? What does Hupsaiya have for us? We've never seen stuff like that, quite like this in this situation. This is very silly. He's pulled the boys, tickled the Goliaths. He's got more vassals coming out. Okay, Shambler hasn't actually dealt any damage yet. The vassals will eventually die and speed up the scribes, which maybe will increase their harvest rate, you have to wonder. Might be a strat. Is it worth 75 minerals? Answer is no. The Goliaths will eventually go down. Okay, so this isn't too threatening at the end of the day. It kind of disrupted the mining for a brief period of time, but man, both of our players having their work cut out for them in this game. So seeing the air units and like the double watchdog and the tightly packed production and like, oh, still losing your worker really reminded me of like early 2023 when people would be building like mass Nathracor in the early game. And like as Terran, you would just like use the anchor and like lift off a bunch of times. And that's the only way you could expand your out of your like immediate circle, because partially due to the maps were really crazy, and also partially because air used to hit way faster and be way more effective. Man, those were the days. If you missed that, you're welcome. Congrats on not having to deal with that. So we still only have 2 vassal production, or 2 lattice production, but there is a gateway coming. I guess there'll be a second one added, thrown on down. Yep, and it will be a transition into idols. Now these mines were placed over here, so they are in a pretty clear position to give Shambler the AoE. I don't know what Hupsaiya was doing there. I feel like that's if he was streaming, he'd be like, oh, the Goliaths, or whatever, and then spin it. But he ends up losing his vassals. That's alright. Who needed them anyway? He's got his idols. He's got his warden. He's got more idols coming. He's got 2-gate production. Big fan. Now listen, again, the meta, it looks completely different for PvT now. This is like this is one for the history books, okay? This is a set cast mostly because I was told that it would be amusing. And I don't know how amused I am yet, but I guess I am a little bit, so we'll have to see how it goes. But I was actually talking about this recently, how I should do like a lowlights channel or something, like a separate channel or separate line of casts where we have like the hype matches, right? And maybe this is kind of hype, right? The Goliaths charging forward, the idols getting brought down, but not really able to do too much more than that. Another vulture coming on down to lay out the contain. But I was wondering if I should do that, or if I should do like, oh, dead vassal. Charge forward. No, never mind. The reason why that would maybe be good is because we do have players who play at lower levels of skill, and it would be great to showcase their play as well. Mostly because, you know, for one, it might help them improve, but for another, it's a good excuse to have stuff like that, right? Like, why not have, you know, just a silly casts channel or something? I don't know. It's a lot of it's probably a lot of effort to go in and make another YouTube channel at this point. But it was an idea that I floated, so maybe you guys can leave some info in the comments there, feedback in the comments. I was talking with Shambler about that. Also talking about the fact that other people could just do cast overs. That could be cool. All right, lots of zealots are filtering into the composition now. Hupsaiya will be able to beat back this Goliath army before the clerics get too busy. Oh, stunned by the lobotomy mine. Nothing too significant just yet. We've got an embassy coming for Hupsaiya. I almost said Shambler because I'm used to him being Protoss, but he's adding a 3rd Fulcrum. And, of course, he has his Vestry Stockade. So, clearing through the mines, a 3rd gate, and an embassy indeed nearly about to finish. When the vassals go down, they just help out the composition elsewhere. There goes the cleric. So it's actually still worthwhile to bring them up in this situation because they help you engage. Very, very good. Now Hupsaiya going to go ahead and drop that Nexus in the 6 o'clock-ish area. I tease Veek sometimes. He's the author of Impetus. I don't really tease him specifically, but in a way I imagine it's sort of like a tease. Because I'm like, oh yes, the 7 o'clock position. Even though it's very clearly meant to be the 6. But, you know. Or I guess this would be 5. 7 o'clock is... there's a different map that has 7 o'clock instead that I remember saying a few times. But anyway, not really that important. 6 and 12 are fine here. By the way, we have another guy who clocked in recently. We have a tier on our coffee page where you can donate to if you want to further project development. And Luciferius upgraded to the clocked in tier yesterday, so shout out to Luciferius. Welcome home from your trip. Now, Shambler is going to go ahead and try to charge in here and shut down the third. And Hupsaiya is setting up for a nice little split onto this force. And I think it's going to work out wonderfully for him, but looks like he doesn't want to actually engage on the fight just yet. There is a single Cyclops with this pack on the right, and another one off to the side. And yes, the retreat is maybe ill-advised. Something that Hupsaiya noticed is that when you compare this to StarCraft 2's pathing, right? Like, retreating almost always you have to retreat in kind of plan your retreats a little bit. Because if you split your forces like that, it decreases the likelihood of your units kind of bumbling up and bunching up and dying. And so, yeah, you can see here now, this isn't even talking about a retreat, this is just talking about a full-scale walloping that the Shambler's forces are receiving in the middle of the map. The Legionnaire Zealot combo doing the trick for now, and indeed, there's only going to be 2 Goliaths leaving. And, alright, well, they're going to sync up with the rest of them. They are dangerously close to a lobotomy mine, and Shambler is going to go ahead and frontline with that very wounded one. Vassals stack up to the top, that's not exactly where you would want them to be. Could be sized up for a meaty stun, but instead it's just going to be the Zealot and a couple Vassals. Another one goes off on just one Legionnaire. Sure, you focus him down. Hierophant's coming up as well. I don't know if Shambler can hold from this position. He's been pure Goliath Cleric the whole time. I mean, he had a couple of Cyclops, which, let's be honest, if he had masked Cyclops, he would have won. But the Golems are going to come on in, and, yeah, well, that's a dangerous front line to try to deal with, because, I mean, you don't really have much splash damage with this composition, but still... Oh, actually, this might be... Oh, no, never mind. I was going to say maybe this is before their passive. But, yeah, that's it. No GG from Shambler. I think we're going to see no GG a lot in this set. That will be the conclusion of that one. Hey, let's see which race Shambler is going to be in game number 2. Pretty straightforward loss for the Terran in that situation. Just stuck with Goliath Cleric, still pushed across the map before critical mass. That composition is, I think, seen its time in the sun, and it's now been retired. I don't think you want to do that versus Protoss, but maybe we'll see it come back later. Alrighty then, we've got Hupsaiya in the bottom right. Yes, of Sideshow, and the Shambler in the top left. He's still Terran. It's still Terraning. I can't believe this. Well, what more will the Shambler provide and have on offer here? This is, again, a older game, an older set. This was played in the 15th of April, so remember that. Remember, that's another thing that I was thinking about the second channel for, is that a lot of the games that I don't cast, eventually they become kind of obsolete in terms of the game that they, like the game build that they're talking about. This is actually the last time in the current cast over queue that I was planning on casting the matches from this era. We're going to have a new version of the game pretty soon, and it would be a little bit better to sort of promulgate content for that version and talk about how, like, hey, here's what it's like at the new balance updates and the new models and the new features and stuff like that. So anyway, I figured I would point that out. But if I start another channel and put all the videos out in there about the old stuff or whatever, that can be a perfect repository for things like all of the Gauntlet series that didn't get cast yet, and there's been a lot of really silly things there. I still need to cast some games related to, I know that Three Crow has had some funny games. I know that Innoslix had some funny games, and shocking ones too, that I am deeply interested in. So yeah, figured it might be worth doing something over there. But anyway, that is for another time. More considerations for another time. I did, back in the day, I used to do like unlisted videos instead on this channel, and just sort of link them inside the Discord. But I don't know if that would be as satisfying to people. And if I'm going to be going through the time commitment of casting more games, it would probably be a pretty good idea for me to make them public, because maybe they'll turn some sort of, heads and be spread to some people out there. You never know, man. You never know. All right, so Hupsaiya is going to be opening gate this time as opposed to lattice. Comfortably won the previous game, but maybe the opening, he wants to just practice a couple of different openings here. Stockade on the way. So pretty fast switch out of the Fulcrum. Is he going to be throwing down another one? No. He's thinking about something. Okay, it'll be a treasury. So he's Fulcrum, Stockade, Treasury, but he's idle on both of his production structures for now. So this feels like either indecision or some sort of like very hard reaction of like, oh, I've scouted a certain thing and it's not what I expected, so I'm going to react. But I don't think he had even known about the Drakiden back then. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Anyway, fast vestry. That's what the Stockade is for. So you got to remember that Shambler is the type to think that. Oh man, the last time I saw him play Terran, Shambler said something to the effect of like, bio is useless. You just build stockades for the clerics or whatever. Something like that. He was echoing something that Newt said in on the similar subject, right? And they were just going straight into Fulcrum, and they would make the stockade for clerics, but that's pretty much it. And we saw Shambler actually make the stockade and also build a shaman, which is another unit from this add-on. So similar kind of idea, right? It heals. It also provides localized detection when you drop it, when you deploy it. So, but the fast expansion could be something significant. Remember that, so Shambler's blocked his ministry from ever having an add-on with this placement, and he's really cemented it with the vestry. So I was about to say, you remember that, you can't really add a quarry into the main. This is actually a really big mistake. And I know there's going to be people out there who are like, why not just make it so that the add-ons work from any direction? Fix up those map-based imbalances and stuff. And, I kind of agree. But I ain't programming that. However, even in this situation, it would have blocked some mineral harvests. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's not... I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know if that would have been a good move either. I think this is just a goofy move no matter what. Vultures coming on in. When you lose the 4 vultures, it looked like maybe Shambler was setting up to use, like, Vulture Cleric to try to, like, sustain through the shield damage, and then have his minefield laid out over here. The problem is that when he suicides those 4 vultures and he doesn't get anything in besides a scout... oh, he's actually going to lose a cleric here as well. That's no good. Yeah, and, well, the second one is on an exploration mission. Maybe she can hoof it elsewhere. It doesn't look like it. So... the reason why that's not so good is that he's lost all of the pressure that he immediately, that he initially put out. So, okay, now he's going to switch into Goliaths. He's adding 2 more Fulcrums. He's going to use the extra Vespene he's getting from his expansion and queue up some more workers there. He has nearly reached baseline saturation in the main, so we'll see him start working on saturating the minerals in his natural. But this doesn't look like a game where he's going to be able to survive too much. I don't know. Hupsaiya might just be able to walk over him here. More Goliaths popping out. 2 clerics to try to heal. He's got some masons over here to see if he can body block maybe. Clerics being focused down a little bit. Let's see, the Ecclesiast has gone down. Yeah, that Goliath is dangerously low. The Vulture going to get got now. But hey, one of the Drakidens goes down in exchange. We'll keep our tabs on that one in particular. I understand going for the masons here, but the quarry is a juicy target. Thinking about how expensive that is. Got to remember as Protoss... you want to really put your opponent back, you deal with their quarries. That shit's 100 gas and 125 minerals. Alright. Zoned away. He still has 4 Drakidens, and he's got 2 more coming, as well as maybe a... where's the Scribe headed? The Scribe is also headed to the front line, I think. I thought maybe he was going to go ahead and take, like, 3 o'clock or something for a fast third, but it's just like a misclick. So, with the Goliaths... starting to stack up, I don't think Hupsaiya can proceed from this point. He is going to go for the Stargate, which is not a bad shout. Would love a force target on these clerics, but I think his Drakidens have basically been bopped at this point. Oh, by the way, one of the things I was thinking about recently is that you see the Strider for the Drakiden, obviously. The new Hierophant model will be... visible in, I think, the next cast. I have to try to remember if the next cast even has Protoss in it. But the next cast over that we do, next set of games that we cast, will be on pre-release as opposed to the old game build for the tournament. So we'll actually see that. But I thought it was kind of cute to think about the Striders real quick. And the Atreus from the Grand Library is going to get a remodel pretty soon. Similar treatment to how the Optecton and the Hierophant got remodeled. Although the Optecton is still based on the original Atreus graphic, and it will be further redesigned later. But the new Atreus graphic is going to be fully from the ground up, using inspiration from like the Drakiden and the Hierophant. Similar design. But it'll like animate a little bit slower or less significantly because it's supposed to be heavier. However, it will move at a startling pace. It'll move like in between in terms of mobility. I think will upgrade its movement speed. And so I think that'll be really cool looking, because it'll be like this prowling strider that moves faster than it currently does, but still has the same kind of characteristics. That's my thinking right now anyway. So the clerics go down nice and early. That means that this force has a time limit on how effective it can be. Most it can really do here is just shut down the pylon. So the Goliaths do need to tuck tail and run home. And I really think that the Goliath is not really used as like, this does not feel like it's combat role to me. Other Terrans can chime in, but I feel like something that Shambler got wrong when he was trying to play Terran earlier is he was trying to use the Goliaths as like an everyman unit. And it can work as that, and we have seen it be somewhat successful, but I feel like it's optimal combat usage versus Protoss. Oh, nice little timing on these Zealots here, especially when you complete the treasury attack. Oh no, the units are stacked inside of it. You have to hit the stop key to unstop them. Oh no, Hupsaiya doesn't know that about Brood War. Jesus. Zealots are they're just having a good time. The bug where they can attack while decolliding is fixed, so... that's another big thing that was fixed in a pre-release that we had to keep going for the tournament. Well, that's too bad. The treasury might have actually died or something if he hadn't done that move. That was a silly move. Silly by Brood War and slightly silly by Hup. You can't really blame Hup for not knowing that you hit the stop key to force your units to decollide. I kind of find that it's a little silly that I know that, but I do know that because it is indeed a thing. I like this mine placement here in case there's the air unit's path down there. It might be a little bit too far down, but you know what? You got to think like your opponent does. And maybe Shambler just thinks, if I was Protoss, I'd put an Envoy down there. You know, path that at the very bottom of the map. Who is going to guess that you have a mine there? All right. Hupsaiya sharking around. The Goliath count growing massively. Again, we were talking about combat roles and stuff. I don't know if this feels like the best usage of the Goliath, but it is a usage of the Goliath, and it's what the Shambler is cooking up. Those 4 Zealots going to charge back in for a little bit more of a run-by. I feel like this would have been more effective if you confirmed that he was still attacking, but hey, kill that quarry, dude. Again, the gas cost of that is pretty high. So he should just... you're fine using these 4 Zealots and killing the quarry, especially if you don't even lose all 4, though I think he will. So, oh, he even forces a lift. That's not necessary, so the workers are just going to go on a merry-go-round. I think that's because he mistimed it or whatever. The Atlas now coming down. Okay, Shambler getting deeper into the tech tree this time than he did in the previous game. Double Stargate, so I'm guessing, yeah, we've got 3 Exemplars. Okay. Well, the Goliaths are pretty good versus air, but you can use the Exemplar around this area to just kill, like, the gas mining and maybe attack the worker count over here. And then type worker count after you kill a bunch of workers. Shambler famous for typing worker count, of course. The Zealot actually catches the army movement out over here, so Hupsaiya has to be worried about that, because that is indeed a lot of Goliaths. He's going to bring his ground force back over here, which I do like, and he's going to slowly add a 4th Exemplar to the mix around the 9 o'clock position, which I thought the go button had been pushed, but not quite yet. And yeah, with these Goliaths really taking their time to get over there, that's giving Hupsaiya plenty of time to get his superior ground composition in place to stave off this attack. Now, we still have a decent number of Goliaths over here. We've got 7 of them, in fact. So these 4 Exemplar are going to have a limited window of efficacy, but they've already popped a couple of workers. Remember, they deal some splash. So, yeah, again, killing that quarry. Hupsaiya has figured it out. Yeah, he definitely knows about that. I felt like maybe he could have done that at the very beginning of the game. But, you know, you lose 1 Exemplar. Oh, you shouldn't even try to kite, dude. They turn so slowly. Okay, he narrowly avoids losing out on that 1 Exemplar. Now, the attack has been committed here from the Shambler, but he is going to end up losing most of his early frontliner guys. And he doesn't really have like a frontliner as part of his composition. He just happens to have Goliaths on the front. So that makes we talked about retreats in that last game, how in Brood War, I think in this case the units are naturally splitting, but it's good to actually tell them to split, because it gives you that a little bit of, like they don't bumble on each other quite as much. Because of the fact that they have that. So the Goliaths are going to go ahead and start adding in the bounces. The Exemplars just wreaking havoc yet again, and they'll even soften up these Goliaths. You can leave them and attack that. And actually, yeah, Shambler just going to go ahead and concede off of that alone. Well, I don't really know why those were packaged together with the bangers, if the bangers are still yet to come. But that was Hupsaiya versus the Shambler. Remember, that I have a limited amount of time to do things like cast videos, and I'm still doing them every day. So that's going to be our cast over for today. But if you're ever wondering, why is Pronogo casting this game? It's because I was told that it would be worth our time. I'll leave it up to you if you think that seeing Shambler get shambled by Hupsaiya was worthwhile. I guess if you're part of the anti-Shambler society, otherwise known as Clan Ass, then you probably appreciated this cast. But just let me know in the comments, of course. And tomorrow, we will bang it out with a very long Sideshow game and presumably another one after that. GG's.